Alrighty. So my name is Wonder B, and I thought I'd do a little reading here on Exodus 19:20 on some observations that I made, and this is the new international version on Bible Gateway. Um, Now I read this and I read some stuff that stood out to me, and I thought I'd read it out loud to get others' opinions as well, right? But this reading this the way that I did took me on a rabbit hole of um that time period and the gods of that time period. And it was very eye-opening, to say the least. And there were a lot of things that I discovered. And I won't get too deep into my rabbit hole, but I'll let y'all take that if you hear anything on the way that I read this. Okay. This is how I'm interpreting what's happening here. And I didn't mean to find this, okay? I was searching for something in the law, and I just so happened to just make my way in here, and I said, okay, let me just see what this has to say. And as I read it, I couldn't believe my eyes. So, and I read it a few times and I was just kind of confused, which is what caused the rabbit holes, but I'm much clearer on this topic now. All right, so at Mount Sinai, on the first day of the third month after the Israelites left Egypt, on that very day, they came to the desert of Sinai. After they set out from Rephidim, they entered the desert of Sinai, and Israel camped there in the desert in front of the mountain. Now, here's where it got interesting for me here. Okay. So then Moses went up to God. Hi, God. And the Lord called to him from the mountain and said, and this is what got my attention. Who is this Lord that called to him from the mountain and said, this is what you are to say to the descendants of Jacob, and what you are to tell the people of Israel. You yourself have seen what I did to Egypt and how I carried you on with eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now, if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all nations you will be my treasured possession, my precious. Although the whole earth is mine, you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words you are to speak to the Israelites. So Moses went back and summoned the elders of the people and set before them all the words the Lord had commanded him to speak. The people all responded together, we will do everything the Lord has said. So Moses brought their answer back to the Lord. The Lord said to Moses, I am going to come to you in a dense cloud so that people will hear me speaking with you and will always put their trust in you. Now, I don't know about you, but I am not trusting of anything that needs to come in a cloud just so that I can hear and believe. That's just me. I don't believe the Creator would have to go through those lengths to make me believe in their word. Okay? And I'll continue. Then Moses told the Lord what the people had said. And the Lord said to Moses, go to the people and consecrate them today and tomorrow. Have them wash their clothes and be ready by the third day, because on that day, the Lord will come down on Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people. Put limits for the people around the mountain and tell them, be careful that you do not approach the mountain or touch the foot of it. Whoever touches the mountain is to be put to death. They are to be stoned or shot with arrows. Not a hand is to be laid on them, just stones and arrows, okay? No person or animal shall be permitted to live. Only when the ram's horn sounds a long blast may they approach the mountain. After Moses had gone down the mountain to the people, he consecrated them and they washed their clothes. Then he said to the people, prepare yourselves for the third day. Abstain from sexual relations. On the morning of the third day, there was a thunder and lightning with a thick cloud over the mountain and a very loud trumpet blast. Everyone in the camp trembled. Then Moses led the people out of the camp to meet with none other than God. Okay. And they stood at the foot of the mountain. Okay. They went to go meet with God and they stood at the foot of the mountain, the same mountain they said, don't go next to, right? Mount Sinai was covered with smoke because the Lord descended on it in fire. The smoke billowing up from it like from a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled violently. As the sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder, Moses spoke, and the voice of God answered him. The Lord descended to the top of the mountain and called Moses to the top of the mountain. So Moses went up, and the Lord said to him, "Go down and warn the people so that they do not force their way through to see the Lord, and many of them perish. Even the priests who approach the Lord must consecrate themselves, or the Lord will break out against them." Moses said to the Lord, "The people cannot come up to the mountain because you yourself warned us. Put limits around the mountain and set it apart as holy." The Lord replied, "Go down and bring Aaron up with you, but the priests and the people must not force their way through to come up to the Lord, or he will break out against them." So Moses went down to the people and told them. Now, I want to go back. Did you hear how this says, force their way through to come up to the Lord, or he will break out? Why he talking about himself like that? Hmm? Let's just leave it right there. Okay, so Moses went to the people and told them. What did he tell them? Let's see. What did he tell them? What's next? Okay, this is what he told them. Okay, this is the edit. And God spoke all these words. "I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or in the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God." This one right here, I'm jealous, okay? You can't talk about nobody else. "Punishing the children for the sin of their parents to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God." Okay? "For the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you gotta labor and do all your work, but the seventh day, that's for me, okay? Y'all work all those 6 days, but and work hard, but and you ain't got no time because the seventh day is for me. And on it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your son or your daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth." Huh, did he now? Did he make the in 6 days? And all that in them. But he rested on the seventh day. Oh, wow. Therefore, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. I know an omnipotent creator who would never limit us by time. So I'm going to leave that there. "Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant, his ox or his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor." Now, when the people saw the thunder and lightning, weren't we just at the mountain before? What are we talking about this thunder and lightning now again? And the trumpet that sounded back then. What? How did this get thrown in here? "When the people saw the thunder and lightning and heard the trumpet and saw the mountain and smoke, they trembled with fear. They stayed at a distance. Okay, this is how they were afraid of God. They stayed at a distance and said to Moses, 'Speak to us yourself and we will listen, but do not have God to speak to us or we will die.' Like, nah, he's too scary. Like, nah. I don't know what that is. You speak to us." Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid. God has come to test you, so that the fear of God will be with you to keep you from sinning." The people remained at a distance while Moses approached the thick darkness where God was. Idols and altars. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites this." Tell them, because it's not like I could tell them myself. I need you to tell them for me. "Tell the Israelites this. You have seen for yourself that I have spoken to you from heaven. Do not make any gods to be alongside me." There were other gods, okay? Maybe the jealous one didn't want you looking at any other ones, huh? "Do not make for yourself gods of silver or gods of gold. Make an altar of earth for me and sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, your sheep and your goats and your cattle. Wherever I cause my name to be honored, I will come to you and bless you. If you make an altar of stones for me, do not build it up with this sounds like a very materialistic God, okay? If you make an altar of stones for me, do not build it up with dressed stones, for you will defile it if you use a tool on it. And do not go up to my altar on steps, or your private parts may be exposed. The end. Okay? I don't know what your interpretation of that was, but I certainly know what my interpretation of this was. And whoever this Lord, okay, because look, then Moses went up to God. That's a comma, which is a pause, and there's an and, right? Which is what? Two independent clauses. That's how I see that, right? They're talking about two different things here because they didn't have to write this like this. They could have said, Moses heard God call him from the mountain saying, this is what you are to say to the descendants of Jacob. That could have been written like that. There's no reason to mention God or the Lord whatsoever. Okay? I'd love to hear your opinions. Drop some comments.